Well, it's Wednesday. Welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. I'm author CJ Peterson with my co-host over here, author Michael Scott Clifton. Today, we're blessed with not one guest, but two. We get the amazing Lynn Colby and the spectacular Kevin Pettway again today. And we're going to be talking about expanding your IP universe. Before we get there, though, Mike, how was your weekend?
Melanie and I were in Jackson, Mississippi for the Mississippi Comic-Con, and it was fabulous. It was kind of like it's probably the most crowded Comic-Con, kind of like Fan Expo in Dallas. And it was great. Just a great time. We stayed in Flowood, which is a little suburb, I think, north of Jackson. Hadn't been to Mississippi since Melanie and I were married 43 years ago, and we had gone through Mississippi on the way to Florida, and so that's the second time in 43 years I've been through there. But it's a great place. The Comic-Con was fantastic. I had some great guests, lots and lots. They had people lined up 4 hours ahead of time that stretched 2 or 3 blocks, and it was off. Sold out a couple of my books, which is good. Bad in a way, because one of them was the first book in a series, and it's sort of that kind of brings it to an El Halto, for the other books. But
I have the Kevin Pettway ones too.
Yeah, I tend to bring a couple extra number ones. Julie Brock says, howdy, folks. Hey, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
So yeah, I tend to bring some for that very reason, extra.
Brought extras. In fact, we brought a lot of extras, but that's just how vigorous, the sales and stuff were. So I'm very happy with it. I mean, I'd rather run out than have tons left over. Definitely. And when we got back, as we were talking earlier, went straight to pea picking and lots of fun. So in 100-degree heat. So if you like to pick peas and you love heat, and you can come to Mount Pleasant and I will set you up.
So for those listening, that is an extreme amount of sarcasm. So we've had Kelly on a couple of times. We've had Kevin on before, and we were talking about, when we had Kevin on this last time, we were talking about an anthology thing you guys are doing. What is that?
Okay, so the first series of books finished up in January. Mm-hmm. And that was the 5 5 novels in the Misplaced Mercenaries world. And Kelly came up with the idea of turning it into a shared universe. So she invited 5 additional authors in, and they and myself are now all writing brand new series set in this same world. So we're going to be having 6 books a year come out in this world.
I want to interrupt though. It might have been my idea, but I didn't know he was going to say yes so readily, just for the record.
I was going to say, how do you keep all that organized? Because that sounds like chaos.
Yeah. Lots of people.
There's lots of people involved.
Embrace the chaos.
In keeping it all together. It's not just me and Kelly, thank God. Yeah. And I will say they are amazing and wonderful and very, very smart people. I'm very excited to have them on board.
Before we jump into this, I have a couple of questions. Number one, can you explain to those who don't know or aren't familiar, what's Misplaced Mercenaries?
That's you, Kevin. You should at least say what Misplaced Mercenaries is. But the expanded universe, we've changed the name because Misplaced Mercenaries is the first series, like he said, that just finished. So the universe is actually called Misplaced Adventures.
Okay.
So that's the entire. So every single book is going to say, like the first one comes out in July, and it's called One Good Eye, a Misplaced Adventures novel. So that way anyone can put in Misplaced Adventures. Every single one of them will have that on there. So they will know that this is all part of that universe that, of course, they love because it's amazing.
So what is the Misplaced Adventures universe then?
Kevin?
Okay. Yeah. So Misplaced Adventures is funny fantasy. It is intended to be lighthearted. It's certainly got all of the staples of fantasy with the, plenty of adventure, a little bit of romance, high stakes and low stakes. It's kind of all over the map, but they all have a through line of humor and cussing. So between those two things, that's actually I will say that the stories are typified by people that you might ordinarily consider to be bad people who are put into situations where they have to be good. And so, and that happens, sort of throughout all of the books. And I personally really like that sort of redemptive arc. And the idea that any of us, no matter where we start at, can be good.
So with these misplaced adventures, do the characters cross over into other stories within the misplaced adventures? And if so, how do you do that?
Well, a bit, but not quite yet. So what I mean by that is they are still developing their world first, because you don't want to just throw characters in already before you have the nice solid, not the world's developed, but their series, right? So their characters, each author, like Kevin said, each author has their own series they're doing. So there is some crossover, and I must say Kevin's done the best job of this, but it is his world. He totally understands it, right? Unfortunately means he has more responsibility, but I mean, it's fun. For me, anyways. He has to make sure it works, right? So there will be some crossovers.
So everybody's been given like this world that they're operating off of, and they just make their own character and their own little story within that same world.
You got it. We chose people that we knew would have the same kind of writing style, as in they could do the humor, they could do the creative swearing, and everyone, by the way, has different levels of that, whatever they were comfortable with. And different, some of them are a little more horror, some of them are a little more comedy, some of them are a little more traditional fantasy. So you've got different flavors, but they're all in the same world, and they all have this redemptive quality, and they're all series. So even if you don't particularly like one, you're going to love the other. And quite frankly, if you love the other one, you're probably going to like that first one too. So it kind of gives you, if you know what you like and you read it and you're like, I like this, you've got books.
So how did you come up with the idea though? Because that sounds logistically tricky. I mean, it's a little bit easier than some other series ones that I've heard about, but how do you do, what allowed you to come up with this idea, basically?
It was someone else doing the same thing. So, and some people, one way to like really get the fans and keep them engaged is to produce books quickly. And Kevin and I are very talented. We're not that fast. And so we found out there were a lot of other people who also aren't that fast, but are just as talented. So we thought, well, what if we unite these talents? And just this way, like Kevin said earlier, we put out a book every 2 months, but they're all different authors, but the same kind of feeling when you're done reading them, that way we can do this quick release kind of thing, but in a little different way.
So are there...
George Smook says hi. Hey, George. He was on last week. Go ahead, Mike.
So we know another group of authors, the underground authors that are doing that Magnolia series. So I want to make sure I understand. So we're talking about the same world, but with different adventures and with different characters.
Exactly.
And
in essence,
so you have it would be like maybe like spokes on a wheel that radiate out from a central point. They're all attached. So how does one author not cross over into changing a storyline that somebody else has already established in an adventure? In other words, conflicts of, or makes it a little bit more, makes it confusing. In other words, I know the stories are different.
No, I got you. Here, I can answer your question right now. We have this brilliant person on board who is our continuity editor. So Kevin, if you want to talk about that.
Before we do, Mombi says hi.
Hi, Mombi.
Hi there. It's one of the things that we do just for logistics before anybody starts writing is, we all get together and talk about at least roughly the kind of story that we want to write, where it's going to take place in the world. what are the ripple effects. Rather than being spokes on a wheel, it's more like a bunch of pebbles thrown into a pond, and the ripples go out everywhere. Our continuity editor is reading all of these books and making sure nobody is stepping on anybody else's toes. And I'm doing the same thing, but I'm looking for different stuff. She's really the one that's more doing what you're talking about. And it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of very careful note keeping. But it's not impossible. It just requires very careful attention to the processes that you set in place and not going around them. Mm-hmm. But so far we haven't really had any problems with it. And we've got small scale stories that don't really affect much more than the immediate area around where they take place. We've got some very large scale stories that are going to affect everything. Mm-hmm. And I honestly am just pleased as punch with everything that these folks are doing. It's so exciting to me.
So you have somebody that's keeping track of each of the stories, like you say, to make sure that there's not a conflict of some kind.
Correct. Yeah. So and Shannon Winton too. She's a local editor. She's fabulous, and she edited all the original books. So she was the one most familiar with the world, anyways. So it called and begged her to come on board, and she was kind enough to comply.
She was correcting me on my own world.
That's the kind of editor you want then.
It doesn't necessarily require any the contributing authors to necessarily know chapter and verse everybody else's story, because you've got somebody in place that's got a handle on that. Okay. Right. Okay.
Right. But like Kevin said, we do like to communicate and talk about things and make sure that we're also not, too much on each other's toes. He wishes we would do it more often, but man, I have a busy schedule. So it's part of the compromise of doing this world together. Right. So it's fun.
So how many years are you guys planning on doing this? Like, is it already set out
forever?
For 2 years or
forever?
Ever and ever? Because my question is, you said some are slower than others when it comes to writing. So can any of these authors, any of these books are locked into this particular series set, or can they use it to launch off another series of their own?
No, see, that's the thing about shared universe. It's just like if you wrote for Marvel, you wrote for Star Trek, or you wrote for Star Wars. Right? If you're writing in this world, this is still under this IP, right? This intellectual property. So they cannot take what they've written now and then expand it into something else without it also being a Misplaced Adventures novel, right? But of course they can write anything they want. It's not like they can only write this, right? And we have a couple that are writing other things, right? They're not just writing this.
Almost all of them write, will write more than one book a year. And so, they don't need to feel bound exclusively to us.
Correct.
They're doing their own stuff too.
With the IP. No, they have like a set date, like theirs is this month of the year that theirs coming out on.
Oh, we have very, very specific calendars for when everything is happening.
Oh my God, the calendars.
So are you losing yet?
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of running a publishing company, period, right? Mm-hmm. So I just had to be more specific about them. Like, I can't keep things in my head anymore. There are way too many things going on. So we have all of this kind of stuff. We have these calendars out. Everything is very specific about when things happen. And we're human. So sometimes someone might get sick and we have to move things around and then we adjust, right? That's just how it works. But we, on purpose, these authors that we have on here, and there's a blog post on curseddragonship.com if you want to see all the authors. If all of the authors, they were carefully vetted. These were people we knew. We were people that we knew had already written stuff that was funny, that also they could meet deadlines. Do you see what I mean? Like they were carefully vetted. We didn't just go off and put out a big open call. Not a single person was invited. Did we not know? Some of them we knew better than others, but we knew them all. So that's also something to keep in mind. And if this is really successful, we're going to bring on 6 more authors so that we can release a book every month.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Kevin has no
because Kevin doesn't want me to have any time.
Nope.
If I'm following this correctly, what it basically is every author has, like, this is the blueprint of the world.
Mhm.
You can pick the location, you can pick your characters, as long as it's going on in this particular part of the world.
Yep.
So if the continuity picks up something and goes, oh, somebody's already writing in that part of the world, do they have them shift to a different part, or do they just make sure that their two stories match?
No, not necessarily. Well, yes, as far as they need to match up. You know, there's no reason why two characters can't be operating in the same place. But if they're doing something that's going to affect the other person's story, then that needs to be reflected in that story.
Gotcha.
And now I was kind of in the catbird seat for this, because when I started writing mine, I already knew what everybody else was doing, and I knew how that was going to be affecting things. So in my book, you're going to see Easter eggs for everybody's stuff.
I'm so excited about that. So anyone who reads all the books, they're going to read Kevin's and go, ooh, look at that. That's fun.
That sounds like fun.
It's really clever.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing that. It's one of the hidden benefits.
Well, and I like the idea that the author can stay in that particular area or realm or whatever. Can they, on a later year, pick a realm that somebody else is in that they've already written about, and just be careful not to step on toes? And do any of them be able to, can they like time jump? Can they?
Yeah. The first one's back in time, the first series.
Mm-hmm. The only thing they need to do is coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're going to do that, they need to make sure that they're coordinating with one another. But you know, we have a Discord where we all talk constantly. You know, and we very often get in touch with one another more directly and do Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So yeah, that's not really an issue at all. My template for this was in my head, the way that I wanted to see it go was the old Thieves World books, which I read when I was a teenager, but it was a city that had been taken over by this sort of Romanesque legion. And there were all these different writers writing in this city, and the only thing they weren't allowed to do was actually kill somebody else's character. They could do anything but kill that character. And now these were anthologies, so they were all short stories, but I really loved the way that they all fit together, and they kept the overall plot moving. And I think that's our goal, is to have something. You don't have to read everybody else's books to enjoy the ones you're reading.
Okay.
And each one can stand
the
alone.
more you read, the more you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So
each one can kind of stand alone.
Each series, not each book.
Right. Well, that was good. The question I had.
Series and read it, and you don't want anything else, that's perfectly fine too. I can't imagine it, but it's fine.
So to follow up on CJ's previous question, so of course we know that they can't cross over and step into somebody else's realm or something. So the question I had, and again it's related to what CJ asked earlier. So with each author that's contributing a story, do they write a completely different story the next time it's their turn on the calendar, or is it a continuation of the story that they started in this world?
Or is it
an example? They're all series within this world.
Okay.
So series with the same characters once a year that you will get. So like the very first one comes out in the first one, our introductory is Jen Bear. It's her debut novel. It's called One Good Eye, and it's in the Hetty Stormheart series. So it's One Good Eye, a misplaced adventures novel, but it is in the Hetty Stormheart series. So you get the Hetty Stormheart, and you will get hers. Yep, she has one this July. Book 2 comes out next July. Book 3 comes out the July after that. Stuff like that, right?
Right.
And so each book, like Kevin's is Wrong Way to Heaven, and it's the Wrong Way series, right? So it'll be one every year starting in November, right?
Possibly.
There's a reason why we have calendars. Pretty sure it's November. Yeah, it is November.
Yeah.
So November. So when it comes out November, right, it'll be The Wrong Way to Heaven. But then in next November, 2024, then you have the next one of the Wrong Way series.
Okay, now here's another question. For example, the Magnolia series, they have the same cover artist that's doing every cover to keep the continuity. Do you guys have that, or how is that done?
Yes, we have one cover artist we got. She's going to do all of the books. The top of them has a really cool logo. I mean, I've got the image. I can send it to you. So it has and that's also on our website. We did the cover reveal on Twitch. It's really exciting. And so the top of it, the Misplaced Adventures, has a logo. So you can just look for that logo. You know it's in the series. And Kevin's wife, Lena Shore, is an incredibly talented designer. Why can't I help me, Kevin? Graphic designer. I was going to come up with the words. Okay. She's an incredibly talented graphic designer. And so she designed the logo for that. It's beautiful and says everything we wanted to for the series. And
do you have a logo on your computer?
Maybe.
You can probably share it where it says present in the bottom. If you share it, it might ask me for permission, and I'll let you pop it up. We'll see if we got it. So in doing this thing, it's brilliant the way you're doing it. So my question is, what is the basic overall world, like time period? What's the basic rules of law? Like, do you know what I mean? If somebody were in this group, what are they looking at?
It's a medieval fantasy world, but it's big enough to not be, it's not just like medieval Europe. It's got a lot of different biomes and cultures and different magic systems, things like that in it. Trying to decide how to answer that question exactly.
Like, is there magic? Is it what?
Yeah,
it's sword and sorcery world.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's an easier way to think.
And they all are. All of them, obviously, because they're all in the same world.
Okay. So I found it. Here's the Misplaced Adventures logo. That is really cool. Kevin, your wife did that?
Yeah.
Brilliant. My wife did the logo, and then our
cover designer, Molly Phipps.
Right. She did the rest of it.
That's brilliant. It looks awesome.
It's so cool. And so that'll be on the top of all of them. And notice it's purple. Every series will have its own color as well.
Okay.
So if you pick up something with Misplaced Mercenaries, it's purple, it'll be Hetty Stormheart. Okay. And so each one will have a different color as well.
That's smart. Yeah. I like that. So you know which author you're looking for if you like a certain color, but you can go ahead and read all of them though. So you can either expand your universe and check out the different characters. At any point, do you know of any where the characters there's going to be like two authors that maybe work together on one? I don't see any reason at all that couldn't happen. I'm already stealing characters from other people's books. So I think that's very easily could happen. And as a matter of fact, I would encourage it. I'm that's one of the things that I really like.
And the cool part is, I should knock on wood, everyone's getting along. Like everyone likes
drama.
I don't know how that happened, but I will take it. And we're talking also the editors, right? We have dev editors involved. We have copy editors involved. We've got, the continuity editor we talked about. We've got cover artists. We have all of these people we have involved. And then all the authors that they actually all get along. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
I think communication is a huge part of that. And not like inundating. You have to have like a balance in the communication. So somebody's not getting lost in the sound. And if everybody feels heard and everybody's putting it, the way you're doing it is brilliant though, because each one kind of stands on its own within the series, but they're all under the umbrella of Misplaced Adventures. And I think that is absolutely brilliant. The color coding it, so cool. Thank you. Love it.
Marketing, that's my job. That's why I laughed. I think if you think about like the thieves thing that Kevin was talking about, I always thought of this as like Dragonlance. Have you ever read Dragonlance or Forgotten Realms? Yep. Or any of those series like from the mid 80s and early 90s, when you would go to those series, they were all in the same world, but you could pick up any series, start there, not know anything about the world, and have a great old time. And then if you love it, now you just pick up a different series in that same world, and you don't have to relearn the magic system. You don't have to relearn the different kind of creatures that are in it. You don't have to relearn that, but you get to have a new adventure. That's what this is.
I
So the
think it's
premise
really
is the success of one author bleeds over to success of another author because you're basing the same world, same magic systems. That's yes, and so you build up a readership with multiple authors that cross over from one author to the next. That's brilliant. That's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the idea is really just to build a big boat, you
Mhm.
know, that'll hold everybody, and then we can lift that whole boat all at once.
We are the Curse Dragon ship
Brilliant. Good
after all.
job.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. Well done. So, kind of a tricky type question for those who are interested in maybe starting an anthology group of their own. We've talked about the Magnolia series version of it. We've talked about your series version of it. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to do that?
My advice would be twofold. One is to plan very carefully and base your plans on other people who are doing it and doing it successfully. Obviously, don't base your plans on people who are screwing it up. But
That's fair. That's wise. Fair.
yeah, and part of those plans needs to be that level of communication. You know, we don't just talk about the books, we talk about our lives, and you know, we all know we know each other's husbands and wives, and you know, what we did on vacation and what our favorite foods are, and you know, all that kind of stuff too, which is really nice because getting that extra little bit of personal knowledge about each other keeps those doorways open and keeps everybody talking, and makes sure that we don't have any drama. But to that specifically, I would say that when you do pick your people that you want to invite, and do it that way, like Kelly said, invite people. Don't just make it a big open call. Make sure that you're picking the right people, and you know, some of the people that you love are not going to be right for it, because it's not just sitting down and writing a book. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yep.
So you need to make sure that you are picking people who can hit deadlines, who can work with others, who can promote the themes and the style that you want to portray, and be true to that. And who will enjoy it.
Has to be able to actually write a series, because this isn't just a one and done. You're saying this is going on for as long as you can get it to go. So they're actually technically writing a series.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is pretty common in this
I
genre.
think it's brilliant. Huh?
It's pretty common in this genre too, right? So that wasn't the hard part. The writing the series wasn't the hard part, because it is a fantasy, and we like quick, shorter books. That's what our company likes. So, you know, we're not printing the big old 200,000. So the series part, that was the easy part. Vetting the people and making sure they were the right people, that was the hard part.
So is there like an approximate length, like page-wise per each
Anywhere
one?
from 50 to 90.
Oh, so they're short. They're short.
Yeah, they're short and quick, man. We want to get in there, go on our adventure, and be ready for the next one. Yeah, and that's actually most of the books with the company.
So
like
no Wheel of Time books, huh?
No Wheel of Time books. Those aren't even very long compared to so much now. Yeah. Yep. Nope. So that's our plan.
But they're not like full. They're not like full novels. They're just they're like novellas. Yeah.
Well, no, they're not novellas. Novellas are 40,000 and under. They're full length novels, but they're 50 to 90.
Okay, 1,000 words.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you meant pages.
Oh no! Sorry, everything.
I'm like, okay, no.
Okay, that explains that. I was wondering where you were going with that.
No, they're novels. No, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Everything in my life
90 words.
So they're like 250 to 350 pages.
Yes.
Yeah.
About
somewhere in that ballpark. So they're full length novels. That's really cool, though.
Yep.
That's
so quick. That's quick shots adventures for our fantasy world, right?
For people who want to find these things, I know that we have your websites going across the bottom. We have them in the different chats. You mentioned, should they find information on Cursed Dragon Ship, or specifically on your websites, or both, or how does that work?
Well, not my website, because I'm a hidden behind the scenes kind of person for this series. But Kevin Pettway's website is awesome. And if you're not in his newsletter, join his newsletter. It's hilarious. So if you go to his website, you can do that. But of course, all the information will also be on cursed.dragonship.com. And we do all of our launches live on Twitch. So you can always come on Twitch and actually meet the authors and see what they're like and all of that fun stuff too.
Yes, and
Those
your
are a lot of fun.
are hysterically fun. That I will say. For those who don't know, Kelly and I joke and I tell her that she's like somebody who's put Red Bull in her coffee. The energy level is up here and fun. And even when you guys do your Monday night D&D games and you do your 20 questions with your favorite authors on Tuesday nights, it's a lot of fun. So
Yes.
definitely
Except the Monday nights are on pause. Sorry, I just want to get that out so that you know we're not doing Monday nights right now.
But make sure to subscribe to them on Twitch so you know when they do go live, because they're a super fun crew to join in with. So thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about your misplaced adventures. It sounds like fun. And so when's the first one of those come out, or are they already out? Or
The anthology is going to be out soon. We used that as a Kickstarter. It was so much fun and so much work. They don't tell you that part. So it's just about done. We had to get all the contracts signed. And so that's actually first. And the Kickstarter is called Last Night at the Jolly Chicken. And it has a short story that introduces the characters in each of these novels. So if you just want to taste.
Can anybody still do that Kickstarter, or is that over?
No, but when it releases, it'll be on the website. I will let it out because I have to get it all to them first.
Perfect.
And then after that, the very first book in the very first series, The One Good Eye, the cover that you saw earlier, that one comes out July 25th.
So it's this one right here.
That one, yep. And it's twitch.tv/cursed-dragonship, and we will do that live at 8 p.m. Central.
So if you're looking for any of the misplaced adventures, make sure to look for those logos. If you happen to find one that's a favorite color of your favorite author, make sure to stay in that color for a while, or venture into the other colors and see what interesting stuff you can find out. It sounds hysterically fun. I just cannot wait to get my hands on those.
It has been so far.
Next week, we are going to have Macy Lewis for romantic suspense genre. We're going to get to chat with her, same time, same place. Make sure to look up kevinpettway.com. That's KevinPettway.com. Or information on the misplaced adventures you can also find on Cursed Dragonship. That's CURSEDDRAGONSHIP.com. And if you just want to get to know Kelly's stuff, because she's got some pretty cool stuff on her own, it is at KellyLynnColby.com, KELLYLYNNCOLBY.com. In the meantime, we'll catch you all next week. Have a great one. Bye.